There's so much of West Side Story which is a celebration of just how do you sing the language you love? How do you communicate your deepest feelings to another person?
West Side Story, it's everything. Drama, it's romance, it's passion, it's humor.
I think it was a very bold attempt at something that had never been done. They'll start with Broadway. It was Shakespeare's Capulets and Montagues turned into the ghetto.
The musical, West Side Story, is set on the west side of Manhattan during the 1950s. It's about two warring teenage gangs, the Sharks, who are Puerto Rican, and the Jets, who are ethnic whites.
It's sort of Romeo and Juliet, a Puerto Rican girl and a Polish guy, and you have these star-crossed lovers that probably shouldn't fall in love, but they do.
And while they don't have Shakespeare's balcony to declare their love to each other on, they do have a New York City fire escape.
Every sight that I see is Maria.
Tony, Tony.
It still speaks to us because Romeo and Juliet, and subsequently West Side Story, are both about love trying to rise above hatred.
Walking tall. We always walk tall, but Jet!
And so now West Side Story is being reimagined by Steven Spielberg.
The Oscar goes to Steven Spielberg.
Three-time Oscar winner, highest grossing director in the history of Hollywood. He's fluent in the language of film. Just look at his movies. They're some of the biggest blockbusters in history. You've got Schindler's List, E.T., the Indiana Jones movies, and of course, Jaws. Why now?
The score's been in my life since I was 10 years old. My parents bought the original Broadway cast album for West Side Story.
Tonight.
And memorized every song. And it was my favorite musical my entire life.
If we had been in your home back then, would we have seen a young Steven Spielberg singing this music around the house?
No. No. You know, what's that Clint Eastwood said in that movie?
Man's got to know his limitations.
Okay. I knew my limitation. It wasn't as a singer, but I love the music so much.
Tonight is the New York opening of West Side Story. We've been working on this steadily for 9 months.
This was way ahead of its time in the 50s. So you're hearing about race, turf wars in New York. The choreography and the music was groundbreaking.
There will be time to read the reviews, have a drink of celebration or perhaps consolation.
And it got a fantastic opening night party. Among the attendees is Chita Rivera, who originated the role on stage of Anita.
I happen to think that West Side Story was perfect. I was lucky enough to be a part of it. Every single night I went in there, I was totally complete.
It was directed, conceived, and choreographed by Jerome Robbins, booked by Arthur Lawrence, music by Leonard Bernstein, lyrics by Stephen Sondheim, that legend of musical theater getting his big break at just 25 years of age.
Arthur had heard my work, so when they were looking for lyricists, I happened to run into him at a party. He was telling me, I'm working on this musical of Romeo and Juliet. I was not looking for a job. I said, who's doing the lyrics? And he said, oh, I never thought of you. It was more than that. He said, I didn't much like your music, but I thought your lyrics were really good. So I got the job.
History-making is the word for the motion picture critics have acclaimed as a masterpiece.
So 4 years later, 1961, there's a big screen version of West Side Story that's a massive hit.
You know, you think about the scene of Rita Moreno on the rooftop of New York City in that gorgeous purple dress.
My first recollection of West Side Story was my abuelita y mi mamá talking about Rita Moreno, and I remember wanting so badly to be Anita for Halloween, but my mom was like, just because you wear a purple dress does not mean people are gonna know who you are for Halloween.
we're a Puerto Rican family. For us, it was really the first time we saw that type of representation here on the mainland.
It goes on to win 10 Academy Awards and continues to be a beloved classic, which maybe is why Steven Spielberg reimagining it on the big screen is a big risk. You've never directed a musical before.
No, I never have. There's been a couple of musical numbers in a few of my feature films.
So maybe you remember the opening sequence of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. There's a big anything goes number. If you actually go to the Blu-ray version, you can actually find Kate Capshaw, the star of the film, interviewing her future husband about that number.
So, Mr. Spielberg, how does it feel directing a musical?
Well, it feels just swell. Just swell.
How do you go about remaking a masterpiece?
We never attempted to remake the '61 film. We took all of our inspiration based on the original source material, which was a 1957 Broadway musical.
It's an insane score. It is incredibly convoluted, and Bernstein is and was a genius.
In the case of Bernstein, Robbins, Lawrence, and Sondheim, they all had these elements of otherness in the United States.
There were 4 Jewish gay men that understood the whole notion of the immigrant's journey, getting to a country that accepts them for their talent, maybe doesn't accept them for who they really are. And so they knew how to write about other outsiders.
Who asked you to move here? Who asked you?
Where you
Back where you came from.
Spicks, Mick.
What?
The great thing about art is that it's personal. Something about the characters and the story, in some way familiar, it resonates. And something about West Side Story does that.
Tonight.
Many people are caught between red and blue or black and white.
I actually think it's more relevant today than it was in '57 when they put it up on the boards for the first time.
So joining Spielberg on this journey, a legend in his own right, the Pulitzer Prize-winning author of Angels in America, Tony Kushner, who also collaborated with Spielberg on the screenplays for Munich and on Lincoln.
I came back from having breakfast with Spielberg, and he had said, I want to do West Side Story, I want you to write the screenplay. I said, Steven's lost his mind, he wants to remake West Side Story.
Let's go, boys!
What did you think you could bring to this material?
My love. My love for Stephen Sondheim, for Leonard Bernstein, for Arthur Lawrence, for Jerome Robbins, and everything that they inspired me as a kid. And I also thought, after 60-something years, the time has come again, because this should be shared generationally.
And after 60-something years, love for West Side Story was still deeply felt by Stephen Sondheim in this, his last American television interview before his passing on November 26th. At the age of 91.
I was 25 years old, and it was a thrill. And then have it come out so well. I'm proud of the show. I learned so much from those 3 guys. So it was a crash course in how to write for the musical theater.
For Steven Spielberg, for Tony Kushner, it's a huge thing to really want to redo.
And so, is it a gamble? Probably.
It's a huge, huge risk remaking something that is so iconic as West Side Story is.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.